The text message that ended my marriage was surprisingly boring. Don't wait up. No emoji, no kiss, not even an exclamation point, just 3 words that might as well have been a divorce decree typed in Helvetica. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. And I stared at my phone while stirring pasta sauce that nobody would eat. Vanessa had sent variations of this message 17 times in the past month. Yes, I'd counted. When your wife stops pretending to care whether you notice her lies, you start keeping score. Dad? Eli appeared in the kitchen doorway, backpack still on, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. At 14, he'd perfected that expression. Is Mom coming home for dinner? Nope. Girls' night. I kept my voice light, but the sauce bubbled like my thoughts. Hot, messy, threatening to overflow. Again? He dumped his backpack and grabbed a soda from the fridge. That's like the 4th time this week. 3rd, I corrected, then caught myself. A good father wouldn't be counting his wife's absences in front of their son. A good father would smile and say something reassuring about Mom working hard and deserving fun with her friends. I wasn't feeling particularly good. Want to order pizza instead? I offered, turning off the burner. The sauce could go in the trash with the rest of my delusions. Eli's face brightened. Pepperoni? And breadsticks. Go start your homework. I'll call it in. After he disappeared upstairs, I pulled out my phone again. Vanessa's text sat there, mocking me with its brevity. I opened our message history and scrolled back through weeks of similar dismissals. Working late. Showing a property. Client dinner. Meeting ran long. My wife was a luxury real estate agent, which meant her schedule had always been unpredictable. For the first decade of our marriage, I'd believed every excuse, trusted every explanation. But lately, the pattern had shifted. The lies had gotten lazy. I noticed her phone on the counter, her regular phone, the iPhone with the rose gold case I'd bought her for Christmas. She must have forgotten it in her rush to leave. Strange, considering she'd been glued to it for weeks. My hand reached for it before my conscience could stop me. The screen lit up with a notification. Marcy sent you a message. Marcy. Vanessa's best friend since college. The Instagram influencer who documented every meal, every outfit, every thought that crossed her meticulously highlighted head. If Vanessa was really having girls' night, Marcy would be there. I knew her passcode, our anniversary. She'd never changed it. The phone unlocked and Marcy's message appeared. Girl, you better get your pipes cleaned good tonight. Rico knows what he's doing. My stomach dropped through the kitchen floor. Rico, Rick Martinez. The cocky gym rat fixer at my architecture firm who drove a matte black Range Rover and wore cologne that smelled like desperation and protein powder. The guy who'd been hanging around our house lately, supposedly helping Vanessa with some construction issue on one of her properties. I read the message again, then again. The emojis seemed to pulse with mockery. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through Vanessa's texts with Marcy. The conversation was a minefield of innuendo and encouragement. You deserve this. Dan doesn't appreciate you. Rico is so into you. When are you going to leave him? I sat down at the kitchen table before my legs gave out. 17 years of marriage, 14 years of parenting, a mortgage, a life, a history. All of it crumbling because my wife wanted her pipes cleaned by a guy who probably couldn't spell monogamy. The rational part of my brain, the part that had earned me a position as senior project manager at Henderson and Associates Architecture, kicked into gear. I needed evidence. Real evidence. Screenshots could be deleted, phones could be replaced, but documentation was forever. I spent the next hour methodically photographing every incriminating message. Marcy and Vanessa had been discussing the affair for at least 2 months. There were references to hotels, to afternoon meetings, to plans for a future that didn't include me. One message from 3 weeks ago made my jaw clench. Dan's so clueless, he actually believes I'm working late. The laughing emoji felt like a knife between my ribs. I was putting Vanessa's phone back exactly where I'd found it when I noticed her purse hanging on the hook by the door. She'd taken her small clutch for girls' night, but left her everyday bag. Interesting. Inside, beneath her wallet and a tangle of receipts, I found a second phone. A cheap Android burner with a purple case. No lock screen. The messages were all from R. Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. You looked so hot in that dress yesterday. Soon you'll be mine forever. Just got to get rid of the dead weight. Dead weight. That was me. Daniel Clark, 39 years old, dead weight. I photographed everything on the burner phone, too. Then I sat in my kitchen, in the house I'd bought with my wife, in the life we'd built together, and felt something cold and sharp crystallize in my chest. Vanessa thought I was clueless. She thought I was dead weight. She had no idea what I was capable of. Vanessa came home at 2:47 a.m. I know because I was sitting in the dark living room, watching the clock, when her Lexus pulled into the driveway. She tried to be quiet, tiptoeing through the door, but her heels clicked on the hardwood floor. I could smell her before I saw her. Different perfume, not the one I'd bought her, something musky and expensive. "Jesus!" She jumped when I turned on the lamp. "Dan, what are you doing up?" "Couldn't sleep." I kept my voice neutral, observational. "How was girls' night?" She kicked off her heels and ran a hand through her hair. It looked different, styled, not just brushed. "It was fine. We went to that new wine bar downtown." "Which one?" What does it matter?" She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Why are you interrogating me?" "Just curious. You forgot your phone." I gestured to the rose gold iPhone still sitting on the counter. "Must have been hard to coordinate with the girls without it." She froze for just a second. Barely noticeable unless you were looking for it. "I had Marcy's number memorized. Look, I'm exhausted. Can we not do this right now?" "Do what?" "This." She waved her hand at me. "Whatever passive-aggressive thing you're building up to. I went out with friends. I'm allowed to have a life outside this house." "Of course you are." I stood up slowly. "I just think it's interesting that Marcy texted you around 9 p.m. asking when you were going to get your pipes cleaned. Seems like an odd thing to say if you were together at a wine bar." The color drained from her face. "You went through my phone?" "You left it here. It buzzed. I saw the message." "That's a violation of my privacy. And fucking Rico Martinez is a violation of our marriage vows, but here we are." The words hung in the air between us like smoke. Vanessa's mouth opened and closed, searching for a response that wouldn't be a confession. "I don't know what you think you saw. I saw enough." I picked up my own phone and pulled up the screenshots I'd sent to myself. 2 months of messages with Marcy about your affair, references to hotels, to afternoon meetings, to leaving me. Should I read some of my favorites out loud, or do you want to just admit it? She tried a different tactic. Tears welled up in her eyes. Her voice got small and wounded. "Dan, you're being paranoid. Marcy and I joke around. That's just how we talk. It doesn't mean anything." "Really? So when she said Rico knows what he's doing, she was talking about his construction skills? You're twisting everything." "Am I?" I stepped closer, and she actually backed up. Good. Let her feel off balance for once. "Tell me the truth, Vanessa. Do you love me?" The question seemed to catch her off guard. She opened her mouth, closed it, looked away. The silence stretched out for 10 seconds. 20, 30. She couldn't even finish the sentence. "That's what I thought." I walked past her toward the stairs. "I'm sleeping in the guest room. We'll talk more tomorrow when you've decided whether you want to keep lying or start being honest." "Dan, wait." "Good night, Vanessa." I left her standing in the living room, still wearing another man's cologne, still trying to figure out which lie would work best. Upstairs, I locked the guest room door and opened my laptop. If Vanessa thought I was just going to roll over and accept being the clueless husband, she was about to learn exactly how wrong she was. I'd spent 15 years managing complex architectural projects, coordinating contractors, anticipating problems, building contingencies. Planning was what I did. Planning was what I was good at. And I was about to plan the most thorough, devastating, perfectly legal revenge anyone had ever seen. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Vanessa had already left by the time I got up. Her car was gone, and she'd left a note on the kitchen table. "We need to talk. I'll be home tonight. Please don't do anything rash." Too late for that. I made coffee and started making lists. Evidence I had, evidence I needed, legal protections, financial preparations. Every detail mattered. Every step had to be documented, defensible, and absolutely airtight. First call, Jared Kim, my college roommate who now worked in cybersecurity. We'd stayed close over the years, despite his move to the tech sector. He answered on the second ring. "Dan, aren't you supposed to be at work? I need your help with something. Can you come over? Is everything okay? You sound weird." "Vanessa's cheating on me. I need to gather evidence without doing anything illegal." Silence. Then, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Jared showed up in his usual uniform, jeans, a t-shirt with some obscure programming joke, and the kind of expensive sneakers that tech guys wore to prove they'd made it. He took one look at my face and headed straight for the coffee maker. "Okay," he said, settling into a kitchen chair with a massive mug. Tell me everything. I showed him the screenshots, the burner phone messages, the timeline I'd started building. He listened without interrupting, his expression getting darker with each new detail. Rico Martinez, he finally said. That douchebag from your firm? The one who hit on my girlfriend at your Christmas party? That's the one. Good. I was hoping for an excuse to ruin his day. Jared pulled out his laptop. Here's what we're going to do. Everything legal, everything documented, everything admissible in court if it comes to that. First, we secure your assets. Joint accounts get frozen or moved into your name only. Document every dollar. Second, we gather more evidence. I can set you up with phone monitoring software that's completely legal for devices on your family plan. Third, we build a timeline of everywhere she's been. Credit card statements, phone GPS data, everything. Won't she notice if I freeze the accounts? Not if we're smart about it. We move your paycheck to a new account, transfer exactly half of the joint savings to match it, and document everything as protecting your assets during a separation. Completely legal. Your lawyer will thank you. I don't have a lawyer yet. You do now. He pulled up a contact on his phone. My divorce attorney. She's a shark. You'll like her. By noon, I had a new bank account, a consultation scheduled with attorney Sarah Chen for the next morning, and monitoring software on Vanessa's phone that would track her location and back up all her messages to a secure server. One more thing, Jared said as he was packing up. Be careful with Rico. Guys like that don't like being exposed. If he figures out you know, he might get physical. Let him try. I'm serious, Dan. Document everything, but don't engage directly. Not yet. You want to be the victim here, not the aggressor, legally speaking. He was right, of course. But the cold, sharp thing in my chest wanted confrontation. Wanted to see Rico's face when his world collapsed. Wanted to watch Vanessa realize she'd traded a marriage for nothing. Patience, I told myself. This was a long game. That evening, Vanessa came home with takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant and an expression that was trying for apologetic, but landing closer to annoyed. I thought we could have dinner and talk, she said, setting the bags on the counter. Without yelling. Sure. I grabbed plates from the cabinet, moving around her like we were strangers sharing a kitchen. What do you want to talk about? About last night. About us. She opened containers of pad thai and spring rolls. I think we've been drifting apart for a while. I think we both know this marriage isn't working anymore. Interesting. I sat down at the table. What specifically isn't working? We don't connect anymore. We're more like roommates than partners. You're always working, I'm always working, and we just exist in the same space. So your solution was to fuck Rico Martinez? She flinched. Don't be crude. I'm sorry. Is there a polite way to describe adultery? Should I say you've been pursuing an alternative romantic arrangement? This is exactly what I'm talking about. She pushed her food around without eating. You're so angry all the time, so bitter. When did you become this person? Probably around the time my wife started sleeping with someone else and calling me dead weight. Her eyes widened. How did you... The burner phone in your purse. A very spy thriller of you, by the way, though you might want to use a lock screen. She stood up abruptly. You went through my purse? Through my private phone? That's illegal? No, actually. Not when it's in my house and you're my wife. I checked with a lawyer today. Very helpful conversation. You called a lawyer? Now she looked genuinely scared. Dan, come on. We can work this out. We don't need lawyers. Really? Because 5 minutes ago you were telling me the marriage isn't working. Now you want to work it out? Which is it, Vanessa? She sat back down, and I watched her recalculate her strategy. This was the woman who could sell $1 million house to someone who'd walked in planning to browse. She knew how to read people, how to adjust her pitch. I made a mistake, she said softly. I was lonely, and Rico paid attention to me, and I let it go too far. But it didn't mean anything. It was just physical. You're the one I love. You're Eli's father. We have a life together. Had, I corrected. Past tense. We had a life together. You burned it down for some gym rat who probably can't spell fidelity. Don't be like this. Please, think about Eli. I am thinking about Eli. I'm thinking about how he deserves better than a mother who lies and a father who accepts it. I'm thinking about how he's noticed you're never home. How he started keeping score of your absences. Guilt flickered across her face, but it didn't last long. So what are you saying? You want a divorce? I'm saying I want the truth. All of it. How long has this been going on? Is Rico the first? What else have you been lying about? She stood up again. I don't have to sit here and be interrogated like a criminal. No, you don't. You can leave right now. But if you do, I'm calling my lawyer first thing in the morning and filing for divorce, with evidence of adultery, which means you'll get a lot less in the settlement. You bastard. I'm the bastard. That's rich. I stayed seated, kept my voice level. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to end things with Rico. Tonight, you're going to move into the guest room, and you're going to figure out if there's any part of you that actually wants to save this marriage, or if you're just worried about losing the house. I'm not moving into the guest room. Then move out. Your choice. We stared at each other across the table, Thai food getting cold between us, 17 years of marriage reduced to a standoff. Finally, she grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I'm staying at Marcy's tonight. We can talk when you've calmed down. Vanessa, I called after her. She turned. I'm done being calm, I'm done being understanding, and I'm definitely done being clueless. Whatever happens next, you brought it on yourself. She left without responding. I heard her car start, heard her pull out of the driveway too fast, heard the silence that followed. Then I pulled out my phone and checked the monitoring app. Her car was heading toward the Riverside Luxury Apartments, Rico's building. Perfect. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in surveillance and strategic planning. Thanks to Jared's software and my own obsessive documentation, I knew everything. Every text, every call, every location. Vanessa and Rico thought they were being careful, but they'd gotten complacent, arrogant. They met at the Riverside Apartments 3 times a week. They had lunch at the Gilded Lily every Thursday. They texted constantly, using increasingly explicit language. And they were planning something. We just need to wait a little longer, Rico had texted. Once I get that promotion and you close the Westbrook deal, we'll have enough to start over. What about Dan? Vanessa had replied. Let me handle Dan. Trust me. Let him handle me. Interesting. I showed everything to Sarah Chen, my new attorney. She was exactly as Jared had described, sharp, ruthless, and frighteningly competent. This is excellent documentation, she said, reviewing the files I'd brought. Text messages, location data, timeline. If we go to court, she won't have a leg to stand on. I don't want to go to court, I said. Not yet. I want to destroy them first. She looked up from her laptop. Mr. Clark, I need to advise you against nothing illegal, nothing that could hurt my custody case, but I want them to lose everything that matters to them. Reputation, career, social standing. I want them to feel what I felt. Sarah leaned back in her chair. I can't officially condone revenge tactics, but I can tell you that anything that's true, documented, and shared through appropriate channels isn't illegal. If, for example, someone were to inform Rico's wife about the affair, that would be protected speech. Rico's married? Very, 3 years. His wife's name is Diana. She's an emergency room nurse at St. Mary's. Works nights, which probably explains how he's had so much free time. I felt a surge of satisfaction. And if someone were to inform Vanessa's employer about inappropriate relationships with clients? As long as it's true and documented, that's also protected speech, though I'd recommend doing it anonymously, just to avoid any claims of harassment. What about sabotaging his car? That would be illegal. Even if I just let the air out of his tires? Still illegal. But if his tires happened to be flat when he came out of his girlfriend's apartment building, and if security cameras happened to malfunction that night, well, sometimes tires just go flat. I liked Sarah Chen. Over the next week, I put my plan into motion. Step 1, I created an anonymous email account and sent Diana Martinez a carefully worded message with screenshots of Rico's texts to Vanessa. Nothing aggressive, nothing threatening, just, I thought you should know what your husband is doing. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you. Step 2, I contacted Vanessa's boss at Premier Properties with an anonymous tip about her inappropriate relationship with a contractor and how it might be affecting her professional judgment. I included screenshots of texts where she'd discussed steering clients toward properties Rico's company was working on. Step 3, I waited. Diana Martinez confronted Rico 2 days later. I knew because the monitoring software picked up a flurry of panicked texts between him and Vanessa. Diana knows. She's fucking losing it. Says she's calling a lawyer. How did she find out? Someone sent her screenshots. Did you tell anyone? No. Did you? Of course not. Fuck. She's throwing my stuff out the window. I need to go. I pulled up the security camera feed from Riverside Apartments. Jared had helped me access the publicly viewable cameras, and watched Rico's clothes, shoes, and gym equipment rain down from a 4th-floor window. Diana appeared briefly, screaming something I couldn't hear, then threw what looked like his gaming console. It shattered on the pavement. Beautiful. Vanessa's work situation deteriorated more slowly but just as thoroughly. Her boss, Gerald Humphrey, called her in for a discussion about professional boundaries. She denied everything, but the seed of doubt was planted. Her coworkers started watching her more closely. Clients began requesting different agents. The Westbrook deal, the big commission she'd been counting on, fell through when the clients suddenly decided to go with a different agency. I might have anonymously contacted them too, expressing concerns about their agent's professionalism. Everything was falling apart for them, and they had no idea I was the one pulling the strings. "Dad, is Mom okay?" Eli asked the question one evening while we were cleaning up after dinner. Vanessa had been working late again, which meant she was probably with Rico, trying to salvage their imploding affair. "Why do you ask?" "She seems stressed, and you guys aren't really talking anymore." He loaded plates into the dishwasher with careful precision. "Are you getting divorced?" I'd been dreading this conversation. "I don't know yet, buddy. We're having some problems." "Because she's cheating on you?" The plate I was holding nearly slipped from my hands. "What?" "I'm not stupid, Dad. She's gone all the time, she's always on her phone, and you guys barely look at each other. Plus, I heard you fighting the other night. You said something about Rico Martinez." I sat down at the kitchen table. 14 years old, and he'd figured it out. "I'm sorry you had to hear that." "It's not your fault." He sat across from me, looking older than his years. "It's her fault. She's the one who messed everything up." "It's more complicated than that." "No, it's not. She made a choice. She chose to hurt you, hurt us." His voice cracked slightly. "I'm not going to forgive her for that." "Eli, I mean it. When you guys split up, I want to live with you. I don't want to see her." The fierce loyalty in his voice made my chest tight. "You might feel differently later." "I won't." We sat in silence for a moment. Father and son, both betrayed by the same woman. "We're going to be okay," I finally said. "Whatever happens, you and me, we're going to be okay." "I know." He stood up, suddenly looking young again. "Can we watch a movie or something? I don't want to think about this anymore." "Yeah, pick whatever you want." We spent the evening on the couch, watching some superhero movie that I barely paid attention to. But Eli seemed to relax, and that was what mattered. When Vanessa finally came home around midnight, I was waiting in the kitchen. She looked exhausted, her makeup smudged, her clothes wrinkled. "We need to talk," I said. "Not tonight, Dan. I'm too tired." "Eli knows." That got her attention. "Knows what?" "About the affair, about Rico. He figured it out on his own." She sank into a chair. "Oh, God. What did he say?" "He said when we get divorced, he wants to live with me. He said he won't forgive you. He's just upset. He'll come around." "Will he?" "Because from where I'm sitting, you've given him no reason to. You've been absent for months, lying constantly, choosing your affair over your family. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Vanessa, but you made your choices, and now you get to live with the consequences. What do you want from me?" She looked up, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear in her eyes. "You want me to grovel? To beg? I made a mistake. I'm sorry. What else can I say?" "Nothing. There's nothing you can say that will fix this." I stood up. "I'm filing for divorce next week. Sarah Chen is handling it. You should get your own lawyer." "Dan, please, don't do this. Think about Eli." "I am thinking about Eli. I'm thinking he deserves a stable home with a parent who actually wants to be there. I'm thinking he deserves better than watching his mother destroy his family." "You're punishing me." "No, I'm protecting my son. There's a difference." I headed for the stairs. "You can stay here until the divorce is finalized, but you're in the guest room. And if you bring Rico around Eli, I'll make sure the judge knows about it." I left her sitting in the dark kitchen, finally understanding that her actions had consequences. The confrontation with my former friends happened on a Saturday afternoon at the Brass Tap, the sports bar where our group had been meeting for weekend games for the past 5 years. I knew they'd be there, Mike, Tom, and Jeff, my supposed buddies who'd been mysteriously unavailable since word of the separation got out. I'd seen the group text thread they'd started without me. Jared had accidentally gotten access to Mike's phone during a recent visit. "Maybe we should stay out of it," Tom had written. "Vanessa says Dan's being unreasonable," Mike had replied. "She's really broken up about it." "Yeah, but didn't she cheat on him?" Jeff had asked. "She says it's more complicated than that. She says Dan's been emotionally distant for years." Emotionally distant. That was the story she was spinning, that I was the problem. I walked into the Brass Tap at 2 p.m., right when I knew they'd be settling in for the afternoon games. They were at our usual table, beers already ordered, laughing about something on Tom's phone. The laughter died when they saw me. "Dan," Mike said carefully. "Hey, man, we weren't expecting you." "Clearly." I pulled out a chair and sat down. So, when were you guys going to tell me you'd taken Vanessa's side? Uncomfortable glances around the table. Tom suddenly found his beer fascinating. We're not taking sides, Jeff finally said. We're just trying to stay neutral. Neutral, right. Is that why you've been avoiding my calls? Why you started a group chat without me? Why Mike's been telling people I'm emotionally distant? Mike's face reddened. Vanessa's going through a hard time. She needed someone to talk to. She's going through a hard time? She's the one who cheated. She's the one who destroyed our marriage. But somehow I'm the villain? Look, man, we don't know the whole story. Yes, you do. I told you the whole story. I showed you the evidence, but you chose to believe her version instead. Why? Because she's prettier? Because she cried on your shoulder? That's not fair, Tom said. None of this is fair. I was getting loud now, and other patrons were starting to stare. I didn't care. I've known you guys for 15 years. I was the best man at your wedding, Mike. I helped you move 3 times, Jeff. I lent you money when you lost your job, Tom. And the second my marriage falls apart, you abandoned me because my wife told you I was emotionally distant? Dan, calm down. No, I'm done being calm. I'm done pretending this is okay. I stood up. You want to know what emotional distance looks like? It looks like finding out your wife has been fucking someone else for months. It looks like discovering she's been laughing about how clueless you are with her friends. It looks like watching your son realize his mother chose an affair over her family. Silence around the table. But sure, I'm the bad guy. I'm the one who's emotionally distant, not the woman who's been lying to everyone for months, not the woman who's been planning to leave her husband for a guy who spells definitely with an A. Me. I'm the problem. We didn't know it was that bad, Jeff said quietly. You didn't want to know, because it's easier to believe her version, easier to think I'm just some cold, distant husband who drove his wife away, easier than admitting you're taking the side of someone who destroyed a family. I pulled out my phone and dropped it on the table. That's the group chat you thought I didn't know about. That's Mike telling everyone I'm unreasonable. That's Tom saying maybe Vanessa had her reasons. That's Jeff suggesting I probably wasn't meeting her needs. They stared at the phone like it was a bomb. How did you? Mike started. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you all chose her over me. You chose the person who lied, who cheated, who's currently trying to take everything I have in the divorce. And you know what? That tells me everything I need to know about our friendship. I picked up my phone and headed for the door. Dan, wait, Tom called after me. We're sorry. We didn't understand. Yeah, you did. You just didn't care. I turned back to look at them one last time. When this is over, when Vanessa's moved on to her next victim and you guys realize what she really is, don't call me, don't apologize, we're done. I walked out of the brass tap and didn't look back. The real revenge began 3 weeks later at the Spring Charity Gala. It was the social event of the season. All of Vanessa's clients, colleagues, and competitors gathered in one place to network, drink expensive wine, and pretend they cared about whatever cause was being supported this year. Vanessa had been planning to attend for months, seeing it as a chance to rebuild her professional reputation after the rumors at Premier Properties. She had no idea I'd bought a ticket too. The gala was held at the Riverside Grand Hotel, in a ballroom that dripped with crystal chandeliers and false elegance. I arrived early, dressed in my best suit, and positioned myself near the AV booth. I'd made friends with the tech guy running the event, a kid named Marcus who was thrilled to have someone actually interested in his equipment. This is a sweet setup, I said, examining the control panel. You can override the main screen from here? Yeah, but I'm not supposed to unless there's an emergency. Mr. Humphrey is really particular about the presentation flow. Makes sense. Must be stressful running all this solo. You have no idea. If anything goes wrong, it's my ass. Well, if you need a coffee break at any point, I can watch things for you. I used to do AV work in college. Marcus looked relieved. Really? That would be amazing. I've been here since 6 a.m. setting up. No problem. Just show me the basics, and I've got your back. 20 minutes later, Marcus headed to the bathroom, leaving me alone with the AV controls. I pulled out the USB drive I'd prepared. A simple slideshow, nothing fancy, just screenshots and videos set to autoplay. I plugged it in, queued it up, and waited. Vanessa arrived at 7:30, looking stunning in a blue dress that probably cost more than my car payment. Rico was with her, playing the role of construction consultant. For anyone who asked. They worked the room together, all smiles and charm, completely oblivious to what was coming. At 8 o'clock, Gerald Humphrey took the stage to begin the formal program. He thanked everyone for coming, talked about the charity, introduced some local dignitaries. Then he said, "And now, let's take a look at some of the amazing properties our agents have helped clients find this year." That was my cue. I hit the override button. The screen behind Gerald went black for a moment. Then the first image appeared, a screenshot of Vanessa's text to Rico. "Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. Dan's working late again. He's so clueless." Gasps around the room. Gerald turned to look at the screen, confused. Marcus, what's going on?" The next slide. "You looked so hot in that dress yesterday. I wanted to rip it off you right there in the office." More gasps. Someone laughed nervously. Vanessa had gone white. "Turn it off!" she screamed. "Someone turn it off!" But the slideshow continued. Text after text, image after image, documenting the entire affair. Rico's promises to handle me. Vanessa's complaints about being stuck in her marriage. Their plans to start over together once they had enough money. The final slide was a video. Security camera footage from the Riverside apartments, showing Vanessa and Rico kissing in the elevator. The ballroom erupted. People were talking, pointing, pulling out their phones to record. Gerald was yelling at Marcus, who'd come running back from the bathroom. Vanessa was trying to push through the crowd toward the exit, tears streaming down her face. Rico tried to follow her, but someone's husband, a client whose wife Vanessa had sold a house to, stepped in front of him. "You're the contractor she was working with on our renovation," the man said. "You were in my house, around my wife." "Look, man, it's not—" The punch came fast and hard, catching Rico square in the jaw. He went down like a sack of concrete, and the ballroom descended into chaos. I slipped out the side door before anyone could figure out who'd hijacked the presentation. Marcus would probably get fired, but I'd already arranged for Jared's company to offer him a better job. The kid would be fine. Outside, I found Vanessa sitting on the curb, mascara running, dressed dirty from where she'd fallen in her rush to escape. She looked up when she heard my footsteps. "You," she said. "You did this." "I did." "You're a monster." "No, I'm just done being the victim." I crouched down to her level. "You wanted to destroy our marriage? Fine. But you don't get to do it quietly. You don't get to walk away with your reputation intact while I'm left looking like the cold, distant husband who drove you away. You've ruined me, my career, my reputation, everything. You ruined yourself. I just made sure everyone knew about it." She tried to slap me, but I caught her wrist easily. "Don't. You've done enough. I hate you." "Good. That makes two of us." I stood up and looked down at her. This woman I'd spent 17 years with. This stranger who'd destroyed everything we'd built. "The divorce papers will be served Monday. Sarah Chen is very thorough. You'll get exactly what you deserve, which is nothing." I walked away, leaving her crying on the curb outside the hotel where her career had just died. The final confrontation happened 2 weeks later, on a Thursday night during a thunderstorm. I was home with Eli, watching TV and trying to pretend life was normal when I heard glass breaking downstairs. How Eli looked at me, alarmed. "Stay here," I said. "Lock the door. If anything happens, call 911. "Dad, lock the door." I grabbed the baseball bat I'd started keeping in the hallway, not paranoid, just prepared, and headed downstairs. Vanessa was in the living room, dripping wet from the rain, surrounded by broken glass from the window she'd smashed. Rico was with her, looking like he'd been through hell. His jaw was bruised from the punch at the gala, and he had the desperate energy of a man with nothing left to lose. "Where are they?" Vanessa demanded. "Where are the papers?" "What papers?" "Don't play dumb. The documents you stole from my office. The ones about the Westbrook deal." "I didn't steal anything from your office." "Liar!" She lunged at me, but Rico held her back. "Vanessa, calm down. This isn't helping. He ruined everything. My job, my reputation, my life. And now he's trying to frame me for fraud." That got my attention. "What fraud?" "The Westbrook deal. Someone sent the state licensing board evidence that I was taking kickbacks from contractors. They're investigating me. I could lose my license." I looked at Rico. "Let me guess. Those kickbacks were going to you?" His expression confirmed it. "I didn't send anything to the licensing board," I said. "But I'm not surprised someone did. You two weren't exactly subtle about your little arrangement." "You're lying," Vanessa said. "You've been behind everything. The presentation at the gala, Diana finding out about us, my clients leaving, all of it." "Some of it," I admitted. "But not the licensing board. That must have been someone else who noticed your creative business practices. I want those documents back, now. I don't have them." Rico stepped forward, trying to look threatening despite his bruised face. "Stop lying. We know you broke into her office." "I didn't break into anything. I didn't need to. You two documented everything yourselves, texts, emails, phone calls. You made it easy." "You son of a—" Rico swung at me. I'd been expecting it. I dodged left, and he stumbled forward, off balance. I brought the baseball bat up, not to hit him, just to keep him back. Don't, I warned. You're already trespassing. You break in, you assault me in my own home, and you'll be explaining it to the cops. The cops? Vanessa laughed bitterly. You think the cops will care. You're the one who's been stalking us, sabotaging our lives, destroying our reputations. I haven't done anything illegal. Everything I've shared has been true and documented. You're the ones who broke in here tonight. Because you left us no choice? I left you plenty of choices. You chose to have an affair. You chose to lie to everyone. You chose to try to frame me as the villain. Every consequence you're facing is the direct result of your own actions. Rico tried to circle around me, but I kept the bat between us. You need to leave, both of you, before this gets worse. It can't get worse, Vanessa said. You've already taken everything. Not everything. You still have your freedom. You still have your health. You still have the opportunity to rebuild somewhere else with someone else. But if you don't leave right now, you won't even have that. Upstairs, I heard a door open. Eli appeared at the top of the stairs, phone in hand. I called the cops, he said. They're on their way. Vanessa looked up at her son, and something in her face crumbled. Eli, baby, I can explain. Don't talk to me. His voice was cold, final. You broke into our house. You brought him here. You're trying to hurt Dad. I don't want to see you anymore. Eli, please. Get out. The sound of sirens cut through the rain. Red and blue lights flashed through the broken window. You need to go, I said quietly. Right now. Through the back door. If the cops find you here, you'll both be arrested. For once, Vanessa listened. She and Rico ran for the back of the house, and I heard the kitchen door slam. By the time the police knocked on the front door, they were gone. I explained to the officers that someone had broken in, but I hadn't seen who. Yes, I'd file a report. Yes, I'd get the window fixed. No, I didn't need medical attention. After they left, I found Eli sitting on his bed, still holding his phone. You okay? I asked. Is it over? Yeah, it's over. Good. He looked up at me. I meant what I said. I don't want to see her anymore. You might change your mind. I won't. I sat down next to him. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to feel however you feel, but she's still your mom. She stopped being my mom when she chose him over us. I couldn't argue with that. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. Sarah Chen had been right. With all the documentation I'd gathered, Vanessa didn't have a leg to stand on. I got the house, primary custody of Eli, and a settlement that left her with almost nothing. Her real estate license was suspended pending investigation. The fraud charges were still being reviewed, but even if they were dropped, her reputation was destroyed. No one in the industry would work with her. Rico's wife divorced him and took everything in their settlement. He lost his job at the firm after the gala incident became public. Last I heard, he'd moved to another state, trying to start over. Vanessa moved in with Marcy, who'd stuck by her through everything, though even that friendship was strained. The Instagram posts had stopped. The girls' nights had ended. The glamorous life she'd been living was gone. Mike, Tom, and Jeff all tried to reach out after the truth came out. I ignored their calls. Mrs. Fanning, my nosy neighbor, stopped me one morning while I was getting the mail. I always knew something was off about her, she said, sipping her wine even though it was 10 a.m. The way she'd leave at odd hours, the way that man would visit when you weren't home. I should have said something. It wouldn't have changed anything, I said. But thanks. How's Eli handling it? He's doing okay. We both are. She nodded approvingly. You're a good man, Daniel Clark. You handled this with real class. I wasn't sure class was the right word for what I'd done, but I appreciated the sentiment. 3 months after the divorce, I was cleaning out the garage when I found an old photo album. Pictures from our wedding, from Eli's birth, from vacations and holidays, and all the moments that had made up our life together. I almost threw it away, almost tossed it in the trash with all the other remnants of our marriage. But Eli might want it someday, might want to remember that things hadn't always been broken, that once, a long time ago, we'd been happy. I put the album on a shelf and went back to work. That night, Eli and I ordered pizza and watched a movie, just the two of us, like we'd been doing for months now. It was our new normal, and it was okay, better than okay. Dad, Eli said during a commercial break. Yeah? I'm glad you didn't let her get away with it, with what she did. Sometimes people need to face consequences. She hated you for it. She still does. I know. Do you care? I thought about it. Thought about the woman I'd married, the woman I'd loved, the woman who'd destroyed everything we'd built. Thought about the cold, sharp thing that had crystallized in my chest that night I'd found her burner phone. No, I said. I really don't. He smiled, and we went back to the movie. Outside, rain began to fall, washing the streets clean, and somewhere across town, Vanessa was living with the consequences of her choices. I'd made sure of it. The lightning in my blood had finally struck, and the thunder that followed would echo for years.